has taken over. Let's go. It's Ferrall. Coast to coast.
Steaks, chicks, stacks. You and I are going to make a lot of money.
It's Ferrall. Coast to coast.
Bill Bender is our college football analyst from the Sporting News. You can follow him on X at BillBender92. Bill, good to see you again. We got a couple weeks under our belt. Week 0, week 1. We've seen it all, and here we go again. We were just talking about Dabo Swinney, and he was having a press conference denying that he listens to anyone critique him, denying that he listens to the radio, denying that he watches the television, denying that he reads, saying that he has no idea about anything anyone says about him. He says he's happier than a pig in shack. He knows exactly who he is. He's grounded. He loves his kids, loves coaching, loves Clemson, and listens to none of the noise. And I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth.
Well, I read the comments. I read the emails that I get criticizing me. I send them to my friends. I laugh at some of them, and you get mad sometimes too. I think for Dabo, it is a case that they may have to alter the way they do some things. There's just not the punch on the offense that there used to be. I mean, granted, that was with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. Those were NFL quarterbacks, Scott. They have no elite production at receiver. Their defense is still pretty good. They could still win the ACC. I heard you say that in the last segment.
Yeah.
I believe that just mainly because the ACC is so wide open. Boston College could win the ACC at this point.
I mean, that was quite a performance on the ground in Tally. I've never seen Florida State give up 263 yards rushing in my life.
Right, and that was the more stunning development there, the way that Bill O'Brien was able to establish the running game, play keep away, force, 2013 in the second half, and Florida State just had no answer on either side of the ball and continued to make mistakes and continued to drop the ball. A lot of people are putting all of this on DJ Uiagalelei. It's not just him. It's the defensive line. It's the linebackers. It's the missed tackles. If you would have told me Florida State was going to be 0-2 2 weeks ago, there's no way I took that. I picked them to win the ACC. So right off the bat, this conference is so wide open. I'm not making excuses. That was a bad pick, but it is very interesting to see how many teams I think now I believe could win the ACC.
I have to tell you, I never bought him at Clemson. I guess he was decent at Oregon State. I'm not going to sit here and act like he was great. And I think he's looked terrible at Tallahassee and wherever. Dublin. I don't care where they play. I don't care if the game's home or road. I am not impressed with him as a quarterback, and I got to say, at all.
Well, here's something I've been thinking about for 3 days now. If you watch that LSU-USC game, Garrett Nussmeier, Miller Moss, those guys waited their turn and both looked great. I know LSU lost the game, but Garrett Nussmeier got the ball out on time, made plays. Miller Moss looked fantastic. So there is something to be said about waiting your turn, even in the portal era. And, DJU, Will Howard, I thought it took a while to get going. He'll be fine at Ohio State. Riley Leonard struggled in spots for Notre Dame. And I'm thinking, Scott, these guys are first-year transfers. They haven't played in this system. They don't have a ton of experience. They're playing with new receivers. Timing is everything at that position. And, DJU, you're right. The numbers were never great throwing the ball down the field at Clemson or Oregon State, and we're starting to see that now.
The best game this week in terms of ranked teams is Tennessee and NC State in Raleigh, isn't it? I know you're going to think that it's Texas and Michigan, and I'm not buying Michigan. They won the title. Congratulations. That's Jim Harbaugh's work. I did not think they looked good against Fresno. I thought Fresno gave them a game. I think Texas is flat out better than them. I think the Tennessee-NC State game is more appealing to me.
I'll disagree. I think some of the Michigan stuff, you're not going to run the ball on them. How are you going to run a ball on a team that gave up 9 yards? Quinn Ewers is going to have to be on point. They can't turn the ball over there. Where I think Texas will get them eventually is where Fresno State got them, throwing the ball in the middle of the field and exploiting some of those mismatches. To your point, Michigan's quarterback play will need to be a lot better. Their offensive line took 3 quarters to get going against Fresno. They need Donovan Edwards to show up. He typically does that in big games. I'm going to go the other way. I might regret this later. I think Texas wins the ball game. I think Michigan covers that 7 with the hook. And I think the final score will be 27-24. I do think it'll be the better game of the weekend. I mean, I'll ask you this, Scott. When did Texas get this big game winner reputation? Is it all based off beating Alabama last year?
I think evidently it is, but I think that the reason why I'm, on that wavelength with them is their quarterbacks. I mean, I think Ewers is a really good quarterback, and then Arch Manning got in the game and he threw 1 pass and it was a touchdown. I think they have a really good offensive system, and I like their coaching and I like their quarterbacks. It's that simple. They had a lot of guys leave for the NFL. They're not the same team that had that great season last year, but they still got a great quarterback.
And that's the separator in these games, right? You want to have that answer. You want to have Quinn Ewers.
Michigan
you want to have a guy.
It.
And that's why I think they'll win the game unless Michigan can force 2 or 3 turnovers and lean into that home crowd. One stat I had on Quinn Ewers, he's played against 4 top 30 defenses the last 2 years. Alabama twice, Kansas State, Iowa State. 8 touchdowns, no interceptions in those games. So that's the big thing for me. If he doesn't turn the ball over there in business, and so it's on Michigan to force a couple of those, I will say it again, Texas will need to run the ball a little bit. Michigan might have the best defensive line in the country. And that's going to be one thing that – Go ahead.
No, please.
No, I just said that'll keep them in the game. But eventually, if you don't have any offense to go with it, you'll see what happened with Georgia and Clemson.
So let me ask you this question. Is my Miami Cane team that good, or is Florida that bad?
A little bit of both. Cam Ward is fun, isn't he? He's a fun Heisman bet right now, because if he throws 380 yards every week and leads Miami to an ACC championship and gets the Canes in the college football playoff, he'll hold up the trophy. No doubt. I mean, not maybe a little bit of doubt because somebody else could jump in, but he'll be in New York. Florida, it can get toxic real quick. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. There's no such thing as a hot seat anymore. They'll just fire you. So Florida, it could happen on a whim. They could play UCF in October, lose that game, and say, okay, we're going to go start hunting a new coach, whether it's Lane Kiffin or Mark Stoops or whoever, before they even get to that November gauntlet. It's pretty poisonous when you have what happened to them last weekend happen in terms of Miami coming into the house and beating them down like that.
Do you think that Lane Kiffin would leave Ole Miss for the Swamp?
I don't know if I would if I was him. He's set it up pretty nicely there at Ole Miss. He's doing a great job out of the transfer portal. He's got a good setup. He may tweet some cryptic things along the way. And boy, would they love to have him down there, because Florida has pressed reset. I think we're on 4 times since Urban Meyer. So if Lane were to entertain that, it would be awesome for the SEC. It'd be great to see the Gators get a coach like that. But right now, I think his setup at Ole Miss is pretty good. They had the best offense in the country last week against Furman. He's got a really good quarterback in Jackson Dart, and this is their time to break through to the playoff.
I like Dart for Heisman with those odds based on his video game numbers he puts up. He had almost 500 yards in the first half. Oregon struggled against Idaho. Will they struggle against Boise at Outson this week?
I like Boise on the number. Ash and Gienti, I like the way that they've run the football. It's quiet stat that Boise State's 3-0 all time against Oregon. So they'll be ready for that game. I think there'll be a lot of points. I like the over. I like Boise to cover. I think Dylan Gabriel gets going a little more, and that running game comes with it, and the Ducks win the game, though.
He wasn't that bad with his numbers. I just couldn't believe that they had to score late to make it seem like they look good, because I didn't think they looked good at all. It's good to have you back on Coast to Coast talking college football, Bill Bender. We'll do it throughout the season, my man. Enjoy the games this week.
buy or sell. Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
If he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question here at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, there's not a lot to throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So, or a longer season, we'll see if he gets to catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball. He'll be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that hey, he could have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show just like he did last year. He's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, it reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
Continue on with college football, Carver High.
We certainly do. I wanted to give you some updated future numbers here on a Wednesday before tomorrow we start to really zero in on our week number 2 slate. National title odds after the first week. Obviously, Georgia and Ohio State were the favorites before last week. They still are the favorites up here. Texas, Oregon, Alabama, Ole Miss, Notre Dame moved up a bit. I think they were 22 or 23 last week. So Notre Dame up to 17 now, Scotty. And I believe the U also had a nice jump up to around 20 to win the national title.
Yeah, I think just for my money, Penn State is not as good as Miami. I'll just say that. And I'm not going to argue. I don't believe yet in Oregon. They were another team. They remind me of the Jets, paper champions. They have them, everybody thinks they're automatic. They're going to win the Big Ten and they're going to play for a playoff spot and then win the national championship. And I'm not buying that. And I never thought he was that good to begin with. I think he's good. I don't think he's that good. Like, he immediately went to Oregon and became the Heisman favorite. Like, are you kidding me? He's not better than that Beck kid. And there's all kinds. He's not better than Cam Ward. He's not. And that's just all there is to it.
I was very surprised that he was such a big favorite right before the season that he moved up around 5.5 or 6 to 1. I was very surprised by that. Yeah, it is. ACC, the U. I told you this yesterday. They are the favorites now, plus 165. Clemson, despite obviously they haven't played a conference game yet. They got blasted by Georgia. They're 3 to 1. Louisville, SMU, NC State, Vatech, who also had a bad loss last week.
Well, look, I have seen my Miami Canes win big games before against Notre Dame, et cetera, at Hard Rock. And this game that they won at the Swamp, you'd think they won the national championship already. Like, I was excited. I had my U shirt on. I had it all going, drinking, screaming, yelling, tweeting. I was as excited as any Canes fan. I was happy for them. I loved seeing them kick Florida's ass and everything. But let's calm the F down about handing them the ACC crown already. I mean, they played an SEC team on the road in Gainesville. It was a big win. They have not played any conference games yet, crowning them a team that has notoriously effed up their seasons for the last 23, 24 years. They have butchered ACC games like no other. They've lost to Duke. They've lost to Georgia Tech. There was a time when I was growing up that wouldn't even be possible. Literally, when you win 5 national championships, you don't lose to Georgia Tech and Duke. But I've seen them lose to both of them repeatedly. All I know is, like I said before, Clemson's not done in the ACC. Okay, they played an SEC team, the best team in the country, and lost. It has no bearing on their conference play. And, frankly, Georgia Tech is in a better spot. So's Boston College than Virginia Tech, that's for sure. And, Miami and Clemson haven't played a game yet in conference. So crowning them champs of the ACC to me is ridiculous.
It certainly is. As far as the Big Ten goes, really the only significant change on that odds board is that USC has moved up quite a bit after beating LSU. They are now up there at 13-1, along with Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State.
Those are SEC odds I'm looking at right there.
SEC.
And the Big Ten odds that you just showed, I'm going to save you a lot of time here. USC, from what I've seen, is better than Oregon and Penn State. And the only team that they're not better than yet, in my opinion, is Ohio State. USC just kicked LSU's teeth in Las Vegas in front of 65,000 fans. And then Penn State beat an absolute joke of a West Virginia football team, which is a crap program. I don't care what anybody says. I'm sick of hearing about West Virginia in everything. I told you yesterday, they're only good at drinking and doing drugs there. Let's just get real. It's an alcoholic pit. And then Oregon, Christ almighty, the Oregon Ducks, between the uniforms and how they get overrated and overhyped every year, and we see their, drip, and they do unveilings of their, uniforms and their colors and their helmet. Like, who gives a rat's ass? USC actually went out, proofs in the pudding. Oregon could barely beat Idaho, and USC beat LSU, and you're hanging them at 13-1? Please, just stop. Where do they come up with this stuff? Like, are they drunk? Because I get drunk. I'm not this stupid. I'm not. I'm never this stupid. This is stupid. Penn State, Drew Aller, congratulations. You beat West Virginia. It's like playing IMG. It's like playing a high school team. It's like playing St. Joe's in northern Jersey. Like, are you kidding me? Like, calm down. They played West Virginia. You act like they didn't play LSU. Stop.
There was not much change on the Big 12 side of things. Utah, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and UCF for the Big 12 up there. That's how nothing really changed. No blood in the Big 12.
Well, look, Kansas put it up. Arizona put it up. We'll find out what Iowa State's made of this week at Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City. If they can beat Iowa on the road, that'd be huge for Campbell. I didn't think Oklahoma State had a test. Kansas State looked good. I guess Utah looked good. I mean, you play Southern Utah. What's next? Utah Tech? I mean, if you play saltwater taffy and you expect me to knob you on the following week that you're so great because you played some candy-ass high school team, I don't want to hear it. I'm done. Like, if you play candy, you're going to get candy responses from me every week. If you're a badass and you play a tough schedule, then you get respect.
Bad news for LSU. Running back John Emery Jr. done for the season with a knee injury. Iowa State lost linebacker Caleb Bacon. Surgery on his leg, left leg, so he's finished as well. The kid McMillan from Arizona won the inaugural AP Player of the Week. Your boy had 304 yards receiving and 4 tutties in the Wildcats' win over
That'll
New
do
Mexico.
it. And New Mexico covered. Ronco Mendenhall covered 2 games in a row.
buy or sell. Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
You know, if he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question here at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, there's not a lot to throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So, or a longer season, we'll see if he gets some catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball to be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think, smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that, hey, he can have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show, just like he did last year, he's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
It was the part of the day just moments ago that we spend talking poorly about people in the break. And it's one of my favorite stretches of 2 minutes in my day, every day of the week. That 2 minutes when Carver High and actually we spend time speaking poorly of others.
We do it quite frequently, honestly. It's a lot more frequent than you think, but it was that time of the day that it does happen. JT Real Muto homer here in the top of the ninth.
Whoa.
Extends it to 4-2 for the Phillies, and then a double for Marsh. So let's see, maybe the Phillies are going to bust it open here in the top of the ninth. Let me go through a few things from last night with you, and then we got a big slate tonight in baseball that we have to get to. The Rangers beat the Yankees 7-4. Clay Holmes was on in the ninth to shut the door for the Yankees. Unfortunately, Scotty, that did not happen on Rangers radio.
The set by Holmes and the payoff pitch swung on and a deep drive to left. That ball is way, way back. That ball is history. A walk-off slam for Wyatt Langford. How about that? The Rangers stream out of the dugout and await the arrival of the rookie who has hit both Ranger grand slams this year. Unbelievable.
Oh.
The Rangers have won it 7-4.
I still got to give him about a 6 out of 10 on that call. I'm just not giving him anything higher than a 6. Obviously he got it right and everything. What happened, but at first he's like, "It's what did he say? He called it's out.
It was better than the TV call. I'll tell you that. It was better than the TV call. So if you're rating that a 6, you probably rate the TV call about a 3. That was on there. So that's kind of why we went with that one. Here's Aaron Boone talking about Holmes, who's now blown 11 games this year. Nothing to worry about here, Scott. It was just a bad night.
No, there's been times like that in past years where I feel like he's gone through a weak stretch where he's kind of struggled mechanically. I don't feel he's had a lot of those stretches this year. Tonight they got him, a lot of the times where, we've lost out there. It's been, soft contacts, beating them. Obviously that wasn't the case tonight. Walked 2 guys and obviously Langford put a real charge into one. So, we gotta make sure he's good and
What do you gotta do,
make
Eric?
sure he's good. I think he handles all this very well, and he's tough-minded for it.
He handles it well.
But
He's
obviously,
tough-minded.
some tough ones here of late, and we got to support him and make sure he's
Anything else?
right and a big part of what we're doing back there.
He's repeating himself. He's so full of it.
You gotta make sure he's
Listen,
right.
let me ask you this question: how many closers in baseball? He already leads the majors in blown saves. How many guys blow 11 saves? Like he's the king.
Yeah.
He is the king of blowing saves. He is the king of blowing games. It happened 3 weeks ago, and now it's happened again. And he put a real charge into one. Gee, you think? It was a grand slam breakfast. He walks guys. He gives up. All this talk about dink hits and barely got a bat on it and chopped it out into right
contact.
Soft contact hits. What is the difference between hard contact and soft contact? They're both singles. Okay, so he makes more excuses for this shacky closer and that's what he is. He's turning into Horse Shack, this closer. He blows games left and right. He's Horse Shack. He's going to cost them in the playoffs. Like Mike said earlier in the show, eventually he's going to be their downfall. He's the guy that can't close the door. They used to have Chapman closing the door, and they used to have Mariano Rivera closing the door. This guy is a screen door on a front porch. That's what he is. He's a screen door with holes in it that the flies go right through. Everybody's going in the house that's a bug because this guy can't close the front door. He's awful. I don't even want to hear it anymore. I'm done listening to this guy, Boone. You know what we need to do is get him a bottle of scotch. My man needs to have some drinks. 3 fingers, because he's just so full of it every night, talking up players that suck. And we're not falling for it.
We're not falling for it. And he's going to need it even more in about a month when they lose in the playoffs. Mets beat the Red Sox. Big home runs from Vientos and Alonso there. Braves beat the Rockies. Sale, first Brave lefty to record 200 strikeouts in a season. What a year he's had after all those injuries for the last 5 years. Sale, unbelievable.
He's their only hope.
Buy or sell, Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
If he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question here at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, there's not a lot to throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So, or a longer season, we'll see if he gets to catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball. He'll be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that hey, he can have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show just like he did last year. He's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
Fry is absolutely blowing through baseball, Skinny. God bless him.
Well, I am blowing through it because I want to get to tonight's games. I want to make sure we have enough time for that. I mentioned Sale to you. The Pirates did beat the Cubs. We talk about that loser ump Eddings who gave Skeens the business. Skeens' 142nd strikeout ties for the most Ks by a Pirate rookie since, get this, 1900. Wow, almost 125 years. Skeens ties that record. Then he would pass it. Dodgers beat the Angels in 10. Big 3-run homer from Mookie Betts in that. They did end up putting, Scotty, like something on the scoreboard for Ohtani last night with all of his accomplishments as an Angel. It was very nice of them that they did. And did you see the guy on the Angels throw 105? Was the gun broke? 105.5 on a strikeout. But this is like what you talk about, like when you have a big game or something. And I mean, you lost. Who cares? Hey, he threw 105 miles an hour. You lost. What's the
they
difference?
stink. Like, I mean, you want to
really
make
bad.
money, bet against the White Sox and the Angels.
They're really bad. And the A's walked off the Mariners 3-2. Did you know, Scotty, the A's have the second best record in the American League since July 1st? That's over 2 months. They've played good ball. Only the Astros have been better than the Oakland A's since July 1st.
I hit that game last night for you, and we hit the Snakes too.
I mean, those guys, that Butler's he's been an animal for them. And Langeliers and Rooker, I mean, they just got guys that hit bombs. And they've gotten some decent pitching lately. And the A's have been able to win some
They're
games.
always decent.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, their organization's a mess. They're leaving there. They're going to play in Sacramento. Then they're going to be in Vegas in a few years. It's a mess. But they're always decent.
Diamondbacks beat the Giants. Note for you in this one, Christian Walker did return for the Diamondbacks last night, Scotty. So he had been out for about a month and a half, and Christian Walker's back. I need to wait a couple days, though, before we maybe that's what I need to spark the Taters again. God, they've been awful the last few days. Hopefully, Christian Walker, we get him in the mix, and we can start to turn that around. Let's get to tonight. White Sox, once again, are in Baltimore. They've been smashed there the last couple of days. It's probably not going to get much better since they're sending Jonathan Cannon out to the mound tonight against Albert Suarez. Minus 375, the heavy lumber of the night. Plus 295 if you're risky with the Sox, and an 8.5.
I mean, I want no part of this game. The numbers are ridiculous. The price is ridiculous. Minus 385. Good luck. You can't even bet the run line. It's minus 190. I want nothing to do with this game. The Orioles are going to smoke them.
Yeah, maybe a little Orioles team total, Scotty, for me. That'd probably be about it if you wanted to get involved there. The Astros are in Cincinnati against the Reds. Spencer Arrighetti Spaghetti going for the Stros. Nick Martinez for Cincinnati. Stros minus 150 plus $1.25 for Cincinnati, and an 8.5.
I mean, the Astros can never beat the Cincinnati Reds. I mean, they haven't beaten them since 2016. Like, you can't even make this stuff up. I don't care if it's interleague or not. Give me the Reds.
The Nationals are still in South Beach against the Fish. Mackenzie Gore and Valente Belazzo tonight, minus 145 for the Nats, plus $1.20 for the Fish, and an 8.5.
Give me Tipper Gore and the Nats on the streets in South FLA.
The Twins and the Rays again in Tampa tonight. Rays did beat them last night, Scotty, 2-1. Cole Sulzer, who goes for the Rays tonight? Ronnie Henriquez goes for Minnesota. They're minus 125 road favorites, plus 105 for Tampa, and another 7.5.
Like, Alka Sulzer, I cannot go with that kid in the Trop tonight. Give me the Twins.
Red Sox still at Citi Field against the Mets.
Like that one? That's a good one.
That was a good one. Mets still at Citi Field against the Red Sox. They've been on an absolute tear. Tyler Megill goes tonight. Tanner Houck goes for Boston. Mets minus 115, minus 105 for the Sox, and a 7.5.
I don't understand the price on this game because the Mets have won 6 in a row. They're on fire. And the reason it's minus 120 so short is because McGill's so average. I think Houck can beat them tonight at Citi Field and end their winning streak. Give me Boston.
Colorado into Atlanta against the Braves. Of course, they've been there. Braves beat them last night. Bradley Blaylock against the Fishermen. Charlie Morton tonight, minus 285 for Atlanta, plus 230 for Colorado, and an 8.5.
I mean, Mookie Blaylock's not beating the Braves in Atlanta. I'll do the run line at minus $1.30.
We have Cleveland and Kansas City again tonight at the K. Seth Lugo and Ben Lively, minus 135 for the Royals, plus $1.15 for Cleveland, and an 8.5.
I just think Lugo's been so unbelievable. I got to take him at the K tonight in KC against, don't call me Blake Lively. I think that this is going to be a game of the night. Lively and Lugo in Kansas City, to me, is the best game on the docket.
Pirates and the Cubbies at Wrigley Field. It'll be Domingo Germán for the Buccos tonight. Imanaga goes for Chicago, who's minus 215, plus 180 for the Buccos, and an 8.5.
Cubs on the run line here with Imanaga. I think I don't trust Domingo Germán as far as they can spit. Like, one day he pitches great, the next day he gives up 10 runs. I can't keep track of this guy. He's a disaster.
He certainly is. Very tough to trust Domingo. The Cardinals and the Brewers again in Milwaukee. Sonny Gray goes for the Redbirds tonight. Colin Rea, who's actually, Scott, he's been excellent for Milwaukee, 12-4 with a 3.7. They're minus 125, plus 105 for St. Louis, and another 7.5. Low totals tonight.
Yeah, listen, it's beyond me how everyone thinks this game's going over. I think Gray and Ray are two of the best pitchers on, both teams, without a doubt. I like the under, and I like Ray and the Brewers at home. They have been fantastic all year. This is a dangerous team that can win, and they can win in Milwaukee.
They certainly are. Yankees and the Rangers in Arlington. Marcus Stroman and Nasty Nate Eovaldi, the starters here. Yankees minus 120, even money for Texas, and an 8.5.
Jesus, after last night, I got to take Texas again at Globe. What are they going to let this guy Sherlock Holmes back in the game? Are you kidding me? This guy's the Black Cloud Diner.
Black Cloud Diner, indeed. Very tough to watch him. By the way, the Phillies did win 4-2. They just finished it off in Toronto against the Jays. So the cover there for that in that one. Final, now 7.5 game lead in the NL East for the Phillies. Dodgers and the Angels again in Anaheim tonight. Get the runs out here. Bobby Miller and Griffin Canning making the starts. Minus 205 for the Dodgers, plus 170 for the Angels. And the big fat 10.5. What are we in Colorado, Scotty?
Well, I like the Dodgers on the run line, and I like the over because both of these guys, I mean, they're meant to give up. This is 13 to 15 runs in this game tonight. Both of these guys are 7s, 5s. Every time they pitch, they give up that many runs. So I like the Dodgers run line and the over.
Tigers and the Padres in San Diego. It'll be Kiter Montero against, remember, Yu Darvish returns for the Padres tonight, Scotty. Minus 205, plus 170 for Detroit, and a 7.5.
I just think the Padres are too good for the Tigers at Petco. Darvish hasn't pitched in months on end. Doesn't matter to me. Bats and defense, run line the Padres at Petco. They got the best ice cream in baseball.
We'll sneak one more in, and then we'll do the last one on the other side. Seattle and Oakland again at the dump. J.P. Sears and Roebuck and George Kirby. Minus 145 for Seattle, plus 120 for the A's, and a 7.5.
A's again at the ashtray. Seattle's season is going down the toilet.
It certainly is. We'll finish them after the break.
Buy or sell, Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
If he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, there's not a lot to throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Pittsburgh a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So, or a longer season, we'll see if he gets some catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball. He'll be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that hey, he could have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show just like he did last year. He's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
It's amazing that game stayed under that 7.5 in Toronto, but the Phillies did win, and we thought that they would win. We got one game left here to hit, and then time for Tater time with Carver High's home run snags for tonight.
Yeah, we need to pick it up in that department. It hasn't been pretty. After a scorching hot couple of weeks, we found some potholes in the road when it comes to the homers. Zach Gallen and Hayden Birdsong tonight in San Francisco at Oracle. Of course, the Diamondbacks minus 135 road favorites. Giants plus $1.15. 7.5 is the total here.
I got to go Snakes again here. I think Gallen is too tough, and I think the Giants' playoff hopes are diminishing.
They are diminishing. Not a good scene for the Giants as we continue to get moving here. All right, Scotty. Like I said, we need to there's your night in baseball, all the games, very busy night with very few afternoon games. All right, we got to start ringing a bell here a little bit. We've had a rough couple of days. We want to get the Taters back rocking for us, and we will start in Baltimore with this Jonathan Cannon going for the White Sox. Some good numbers for some of these guys. The Santander's in a little bit of a slump right now, but, I mean, you're crossing a number that I just have to grab at. Plus 550 for Anthony Santander. He's been good to us in the past. Hopefully, he will be good for us again tonight. Yankees in Arlington, Scotty. There's a lot of guys on the Yankees with great numbers off of Nasty Nate Eovaldi. Stanton's got 4 homers. Judge has 2 homers. Rizzo's got 2 homers. But I'm going to go with a guy who actually has never faced him. Juan Soto, plus 4 bills for him to homer off of Eovaldi tonight in Arlington. We're going to go after Lively with the Guardian Royal game. Salvi Perez, plus 400 for him. He's got good numbers off of him in his career. Teoscar Hernandez against Griffin Canning tonight. Now, Scotty, look. Otani is there. Canning stinks. It's in Anaheim. You'd like to think one of these 2 games he's going to homer. He didn't last night for us, but he's like plus 150, Otani tonight, which is just a home run number that I can't bear to stomach. So I'm going to go with Teoscar at plus 400 against him, and I'm going to go with the big ball tonight in Atlanta. Ryan McMahon for the Rockies. Good numbers off of the Fisherman. He's homered off of him before in his career. Plus 750 for Ryan McMahon. There you go, Scotty. Santander, Soto, Salvi, Teoscar, and Ryan McMahon. Please, let's get things rolling again tonight. It's been cold.
Yeah,
too
Mookie
cold.
hit one last night. I could see that happening again. You talk about the great numbers Stanton, Judge, and Rizzo have against this Texas Eovaldi. I'll go at least Stanton and Judge on top of Soto there. And, the way the Braves have been hitting them lately, I'm willing to throw some of their guys in there as well. The usual suspects like Olsen.
Indeed. Let's get ourselves a good night with the Taters ringing the bell for us. All right, a couple other things before we get out of here. First of all, I know that golf's kind of in the off, but we are 2 weeks away from the President's Cup, Scotty, and there is a lot of golf news that did come out today
Golf is never
that
over.
you should be aware of. Golf, no, it's football. I know, but there's 13 minutes left in Coast to Coast, so we can squeeze in a couple of these things. The President's Cup rosters were released yesterday, the captain's picks, etc. The United States did add Burns, Henley, Keegan Bradley, Max Homa, Brian Harmon, and Tony Finau. International side, now it's in Montreal, Scotty. The internationals are hosting, so Mike Weir did put a couple Canadians on the Corey Connors, Taylor Pendrith, Mackenzie Hughes, Poseidon Hout, Minwoo Lee, and Siwoo Kim all make it. I forget the exact number. It's like 25 plus years since the internationals have beaten the United States, Scotty. So
is this the
tough
red-headed stepchild of the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup?
Correct. Nowhere near the same gas or juice as the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup, where the United States faces the rest of the world as opposed to just Europe. But I'll be involved.
Keegan is on fire, so I like him being on that team.
Well, Keegan was supposed to be an assistant captain, kind of learn the ropes because he's going to be the captain at Bethpage next year for the Ryder Cup. But Furyk put him on the team. He's been playing so well recently that there he is. He's now involved and actually going to be playing in it, which we like to see there for him. So lots of that. More golf news for you. Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler are going to face Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka. This is it's going to be on TNT. So you know how they've done the match, Scotty, on TNT? Now, I don't know if they're actually calling it that or not. This is going to be in Vegas in December. 2 live golfers versus 2 PGA golfers. That'll get everybody a little juiced up for some golf in December.
Listen, they should do more of this stuff. Live against PGA guys. They're loaded with stars that make tons of money that win majors, and the PGA guys think they're better than these live guys, and they're not. And I think these wars, there should be more of them.
There should be more of them, that's for sure. And speaking of live, they released their schedule for 2025. They are going to open in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to get things cooking next year, their 4th season. They actually, this year, Sky, they're changing course this year. Last year, they kind of put all their events on the PGA off weeks, kind of when there was not a great tournament. They're going full force this year. They've got a tournament up against the Players, a tournament up against Arnie. Like, they're going head-to-head this year against some of the PGA Tour's biggest events. So a little change in philosophy.
And SportsGrid is certainly in bed with Liv. And that Saudi money has obviously lured them to Riyadh to have this golf tournament. So I think you're going to see more and more of it where the Saudis are going to get their way because they're paying for everything.
Live Chicago next week for the individual championships. So Live is not done. They are playing next week in Chicago to get things cooking there. So lots of golf for you. You're going to have plenty to deal with as well with the leftovers today. Several great stories that we will have for you. I am excited. I will say this for that tennis tonight. I think you have 2 outstanding tennis matches over at the U.S. Open. Could be a late night there because I think that Sinner and Medvedev is going to be a good one late night, Scotty. I like Medvedev.
And then that Swiatek and Pegula. I mean, those are 2 great matches tonight. The U.S. Open rocks.
Buy or sell, Anthony Richardson will be a top 7 fantasy quarterback this season. We're keeping this realistic here. We know that nobody would think that he'll be in the top 3, probably not even the top 5. How about top 7, George? Buy or sell?
If he stays healthy, top 5 is not out of question here at all. He's a running quarterback. We know how valuable they can be. My worry is going to be what I mentioned when we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. Boy, man, if Pittman were to go down, there's not a lot to throw. He'll be running for his life half the time there. I like Richardson a lot. Small sample size of what we saw of what he's going to be. I played the 5 games last year before the injury here. So, or a longer season, we'll see if he gets to catch up to him, what he can do. He's going to have to prove he can throw the ball to be down the field here. I'm going to buy this. All right, I want to buy on Anthony Richardson. I want him to be that guy because I want to see the excitement that he can bring. I think smart money might say go the other way because there's so many quarterbacks in that tier that hey, he could have a good year and still not finish top 7. That being said, I think he will show just like he did last year. He's going to be dynamic. I'm buying top 7.
Yeah, reminds me so much of Cam Newton in the early days too. I'm going to sell on this. I think it's too high. I think most leagues take away points for interceptions. If that's the case, I think his numbers are going to be 20-something touchdowns, 15, 16-something interceptions. That's going to negate some stuff. Yes, he will run. Can he play an entire season? Still very questionable for me. I have him as the 9th best fantasy quarterback at the end of the season, just outside the top 7. So I'm going to go sell on that.
All right, we'll start with Carver High's leftovers. Penny Hardaway removes 3 coaches from his Memphis staff, making it 8 total changes this offseason. I mean, does anyone want to stay on Penny Hardaway's coaching staff, or does he just hate everybody? He literally fired everybody, and everyone else ran for their lives. What is happening with the Memphis basketball program? This is bizarre. I've never seen that kind of change on a staff. Like, the whole thing has been blown up. Francis Tiafoe reaches the All-USA Open semi against Taylor Fritz. They're going to play each other on Friday in the semis of the U.S. Open, meaning at least one American will be in the Open final for the first time since 2006. Of course, Tiafoe and Fritz have been longtime friends. They started playing together in the under-14s in tennis and have been playing against each other ever since. And here they are facing off in the semis of the U.S. Open on Friday. Cole Caulfield of the Canadians will switch to number 13 to honor Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, who, of course, passed with his brother when they were hit by a drunk driver over the weekend. 17-year-old California teen accused of shooting Niners wide receiver Ricky Pearsall is charged with attempted murder. Unbelievable. Uganda Olympic runner Rebecca Cheptegei is in critical condition after her boyfriend set her on fire. What is happening there? My man is just getting involved, setting his girlfriend on fire. This is not going to go over well. A judge in Florida dismissed the case against former Jags kicker Brandon McManus, who was accused of allegedly sexually assaulting 2 women on Jaguars flights to London in 2023. My man Brandon McManus in the clear. How long before we see him kicking again now that he's not being charged with rape? All right, Ferrall finish. New York City football coach accused of smashing student's head into a wall so many times that he needed staples in his skull. Jesus. A New York City landlady allegedly strangled by an unhinged tenant with blood on his head who performed an exorcism on the landlord. Guy smashed her, strangled her, and then performed an exorcism on her. to release her of her demons. The devil. 4 people shot to death while sleeping on a Chicago commuter train. Nothing like taking the L to Wrigley Field and being shot to death. 5 struck in mass shooting along the popular West Indian Day Festival parade route in New York City. Every year they have this Caribbean parade and people get shot dead at it. They just can't get along. Can we have a parade where people aren't shot and killed trying to be happy and going to a parade? Isn't like the Macy's Day Parade, the Irish Day Parade? Don't they, no one gets shot at those. What's with these Caribbean parades? I don't get it. Booted New York City bar patron comes back with a gun and blasts a hole through the cook's chest and kills him. Then he gets shot by an off-duty parole officer who was drinking at the bar, no less. Arizona State business professor accused of fatally shooting his wife. What is happening there? The professor not enjoying grading the blue books. 2 students and 2 teachers shot at a school shooting today in Georgia. It never ends, these school shootings. A thief ransacks an FBI truck in San Francisco, then trades the pricey gear in said truck for $20 worth of meth. Nothing like getting that little baggie of pink bathtub meth for all the expensive goods you stole from the FBI. A computer executive with a bladder ailment sues after being fired from his job after taking a leak in a Times Square hotel lobby. My man couldn't make it to the header, so he just did it right in the lobby on the floor like a dog. Now he's suing everyone, saying, you can't do that to me. I have a bladder problem. GTD is next. Go to FerrallOnEvents.com. We'll see you tomorrow at 3 Eastern. A constant does.
Bostonian versus the book.
That was Aaron Rodgers' thing. It's your quarterback in the first round.
Yeah.
It's a luxury pick. We don't have the luxury. We're trying to win right now. I'm in a window right now, and you're going to say, no, we're going to plan this for the future. With a guy who had 4 years, 4 seasons ended by injury. 4. Like, Michael Penix is a walking injury. Like, what are you doing taking him in the top 10?
The Bostonian versus the book.
And now you have to qualify, and these majors, you got to go do it, man. Like, and it just comes off really petty to sit up there and be like, I'm not.
You know what you signed up for, so I don't like the pettiness, and I 100% think Taylor Gooch should be in the major championships.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same note, I'm saying this, but also it's like, hey, this is the world in which we live in right now, and you don't deserve anything.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Ferrall coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on sports.